Erin, is there anything, Erin, you wanted to share?
Oh, hi everybody. I'm so happy to be here. So honored to be here. It's really overjoyed when Melanie asked me to write the January article for the gratitude diary, and here we are getting to delve a bit deeper into it. So looking forward to this evening with you all. Um, yeah, it'd be great. I know what's coming up, and it'd be great if you could stay with us for the whole time. Whiteboard experience. I'm not sure what that is, but in the
Great.
meantime,
Yeah.
um, yeah, stay with us till the end if you can. That's my
Yeah,
highest recommendation.
yeah, do that. And look, if you need to go wee or get a drink, just stop your video. You're still there and always mute. You just go and do what you need to do. Come back. We'll be here. So you don't need to ask for permission. Sneak away. I won't sneak away. Hopefully Erin won't.
No, I'm all set.
Yeah. Oh, Katie's sharing that this is her second year using the gratitude diary. Can I just get a little raise of hands? Who uses the gratitude diary? Oh, okay. So not everyone, which is really good. Okay, so just for those people who don't use the gratitude diary, um, this is it. Look at that. This is it. And
Great deal.
a lot of the teaching that we're doing tonight, I asked Erin to write. Love the artwork. Second year from Lee. Catherine uses it. Yeah, beautiful. So Erin's written, so every month, every new moon, there's an article in here about something. So this year it's all energy, the energy of water. And you know, the frequency of water, healing with water, water as a conduit, water as an element, water as a part of God's creation, and everything that lives in it and around it. It's a big water year, aligning with the year of the dragon. Also, there's dragon medicine, not so much in the diary, but just with us now. So every moon there's a article. So I've written about pearls, I've written about whales, I've written about the salmon industry down in Tassie. Erin has written the first article, which is gratitude as a devotional practice. So that's the first article in this year's gratitude diary. And that's what we're basing our little presentation on tonight. So there you go. There's the gratitude diary. I reckon we should get started. Great. Okay. So Lisa's just going to share. She's going to get the slides to show up for us. See you at the end, guys. So I can't see you now, which is a bit freaky, but I know you're there, and you can send a message and you can wave, but we know you're there. So, and just remember, during the presentation, if you have any questions come up during the presentation, because something might pop, write it down, and then we're going to have a chat at the end. Now, this presentation will probably go for about 40 minutes. Or 30, depending on how quickly we speak, and then we'll open up the forum. So, all right, let's go, Erin.
Let's go.
Thank you for coming to our free new moon gathering with Melanie and Erin. We're doing a live, so we're here live. We are people in bodies presenting tonight to you. Just so grateful that you're here. I don't know roughly how many are here, but it looks like there's about 40 of you in the room, which is really cool. Thank you for coming. Next slide, please, Lisa. Okay, so just as mentioned before, this is the first offering in an online group that I run throughout the year called Archaeology of the Soul. So we're giving this one away tonight, just as an offering of thanks. And I think this is the third year of Archaeology of the Soul. Some of you tonight, I notice, have already been with me for probably, yeah, some 2, some 3 years now. It's basically a soul group where we process, we dig deep. Yeah, my dog, where we share our soul's journey, and we be authentic and real with each other. And then eventually, after that happens, we also network and play together as well. So next slide, please, Lisa. 250 registered. Wow, that's amazing. 66 here tonight. So here we are. So this is what we're going to be looking at during the year. But for tonight, January Gratitude as a devotional practice with special guest speaker Erin Lee. And some of the themes, for those of you who don't use the diary, for those of you who have one, you'll already know, but alignment, commitment, salmon industry, layers of the spirit world, the 22 layers of the spirit world, causal emotions, the lost soul of Atlantis, resting Chiron, which is all about the wounded healer, salt and balance. I love that one. We're getting very, very metaphysical and physical with that one. And the sentinels of sound. Can't see the others. Oh, here we go. The healing power of psychedelics. Yay. I've been wanting to write that one for years, but I wasn't brave enough. But now I'm speaking to the healing power of psychedelics. Mini fishtail. That's about my childhood and Wales. Next slide, please, Lisa. Everything water. And here's Erin and I. Let's talk a little bit about Erin and I, our friendship. Erin and I met maybe 6 years ago, and it was quite beautiful because in the coming together of our friendship, much transpired in our meeting. Lots of things changed. In some ways, Erin was a catalyst for me to step up. And I know, Erin, I was a catalyst for you, in other realms as well. So we've got this really lovely friendship now, but we also co-create. We're co-creators together. So Erin's, since our meeting, has written and published her own work now. And she's got now the Big Intentions book and also a deck of yoga cards that she bought through, which is this one here. And so she's now an author and a publisher, as well as a yogini and a teacher trainer and a facilitator of all things yoga and breath and mindfulness. And there's me with my book. Anything else you want to add to that little story?
Yeah, this is us at a previous Woodford, actually. We went looking for a picture of the two of us from, the many years of friendship. And this is the best one we could dig up, which is really us in play mode at Woodford, isn't it? And that's one of the greatest lessons that you've ever taught me, Melanie, is just how to live a bit more lightly, not taking things so seriously, which is always what I'm aiming to do, dissolve judgment and invite in acceptance and really, living a lighter life. So thank you so much for showing me how to do that, my friend.
That's really nice. That's really nice. Okay. So here we are, the new moon in Capricorn. So we always run our groups on the new moon. Why is that, you might wonder? Why do we get together on a new moon? The main reason is because the moon is a fertile soil. The new moon creates a fertile soil for the planting of your intention, the seeds of your intentions, at least, so the seeds. This is the time for planting. I've had a lot of emails this week about what do you mean by plant my seeds of intention? And what I mean by that is that right now, whatever it is that you desire, whatever it is that you long for, whatever is in your soul, right now is the time to plant the desire, plant the seed of that desire into something. So to make it concrete, you can write it down in your journals. You can take ownership of that which is you long for. It might be your dreaming. It might be something that you held in your being as a child that you never really gave much expression to. It could be knowing that you need to make changes, but you haven't had the courage to make those changes. So the seed could be courage. Yeah. So whatever it is right now in the next, in this 24-hour window, 48-hour window, it's obviously different times in different parts of the world, but now is the time for planting the seeds for your year. Your new year didn't start on the 1st of January. It starts now. Have you ever wondered why we have all these New Year celebrations, we make all these New Year affirmations, but they kind of just, or intentions, let's do our New Year resolutions, that's right. Let's make our New Year's resolutions, and they don't seem to work. It's because astrologically the year starts today. So today is the first day of the lunar year. It's our first new moon in Capricorn. And the sign of a Capricorn is all about achievement and success. It highlights your ambitious self. Like, who do you want to be in the world? How do you want to show up in the world? Which ladder do you need to scale? Which mountain do you need to climb to get the best overview of you? This is what Capricorn is asking you. These are the questions Capricorn is posing. Because the one who has the clearest vision and who keeps your eye on the prize has the greatest likelihood of success. So think about that. Think about your success in the world. What does that look like? It doesn't look the same for everybody. Success to some people could look like financial abundance. To others, it could look like more time and more rest and more relaxation, or a combination of the two. But whatever it is, whatever your frequency of success is, then now is the time to really start planting the seeds to have that. That's all I'm going to say about that, Moon. Next slide, please, Lisa. And our intention here today, Erin and I, we sat today to, every time I do a teaching, I always work with intent. The whole gratitude diary is intentional for this particular offering. The intention for us today is to unveil for you guys the true power of gratitude, because I really do think gratitude still now is underrated. I think people don't quite know how to ride this dragon, because she's a big one. She's a real big one. And so my intention is to help you just dig a little bit deeper into the true frequency and power of gratitude. So that's what we'll be doing today. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Erin for this.
Thank you, Mel. It's a nice time at this point just to take a little look back before this point now, before this Capricorn phase, before this moment on the Zoom. And I'm going to guide you to do that. So make sure that you're sitting comfortably. You might even like to lay down. This will just go for a few minutes. Just make sure that your physical body's comfortable. You've softened any unnecessary tension, and you can sit here and just open your domain of hearing. So just take a moment to do that. Get any wriggles out, maybe just rotating your wrists, and roll your shoulders and bob your head from side to side. And then just allow the next 3 breaths to bring you into a sense of stillness, just paying attention to your breath in and your breath out. And just 2 more of those in your own time. And take a moment now to cast your mind back over the year of 2023. There's going to be things that will pop up in the forefront of your attention quite rapidly, and it might take time for other things to reveal themselves. But just casting back on the year that's been before now, what is it that stands out most for you? Of all the events and circumstances and all the highs and the lows, the pleasantries and the unpleasantries, the people that may have rolled through the year with you, and maybe some left during that year. Maybe new people arrived. All the roles that you undertook in 2023, whether that was within the family unit or your career or your role in your community, in society. Just reflect back on all of the foldings and notice what's coming to the surface. And there's nothing we need to do with what's coming up apart from just acknowledging it, just seeing it for what it is as it comes up in your memory. We're just becoming present with what is still held in our memory as we're reflecting back and looking back. And This is really a great practice of honoring what has been without having to fix anything, change anything. There may be a part of you where there's some uncomfortableness or resistance around certain thoughts when they come up, or impressions of the mind or memories. That's okay. Let's take another 3 deep breaths, really just to drink in what has been as you inhale. And allow your exhale just to whisper, I acknowledge that you've happened. For better or worse is up to me. Just with my breath in, I drink in that honoring of the past, and with my breath out, just acknowledging that it is what it is. One more big, deep breath in and out now. And where you are now in your seat, can you feel what your feet are connected to? Maybe what your sit bones are connected to. If you're lying down, what your back body's connected to. Just taking a moment to acknowledge this country, this land of the world, many countries here in this same Zoom room that we're all connected to as brothers and sisters. Wherever you are, I'm coming to you from Gubbi Gubbi country on the Sunshine Coast, just acknowledging those that have come before us and traditional owners of the lands, and honoring all of that history that's come before us, and feeling right now that we are here, that your body is here and you're connected to this land that we're all connected to in this Zoom room. So just take another deep breath in and out. Begin to just wriggle the fingers and toes, and allow yourself to open your eyes if you had them closed, and to come back into the Zoom room. Next slide, Lisa. So this article that Melanie invited me to write about, through my yoga journey, I run the Mindful Yoga School, and my own personal journey with yoga is just becoming more and more devotional. I'm getting into a lot of kirtan and mantra and bhakti yoga. Really all that means is just, as time goes on, an acknowledgement that, you know, we're all connected to a greater source. That, I guess, you know, I'm in my late 40s now, and realizing that I don't have as much control over things that I once thought I did, and to yield to a higher source, and higher powers, like the power of gratitude, actually really serves me, and I know that it will certainly serve you as well, and that's why you're here. So to write about this in the Gratitude Diary 2024, just big thank you for inviting me to do that, Melanie, and we're just going to explore this article a little deeper now. I start off, if you haven't read the article, talking about an experience that I have had in my life that really changed the way that I practice gratitude. So I think before this what feels like a major event in my own personal life, I was using gratitude as a bit of a checklist. Has anyone else done that? Just, you can put your hand up or use your raised hand emoji, where, you know, if something wasn't going well, I'd go, well, what am I grateful for? Well, what's great about this? And think of a million things that I could be grateful for. But to be honest, I was a bit upset with the current circumstance or the event, and it felt, you know, a bit like just putting a Band-Aid on a wound that hadn't healed properly yet. So when this event unfolded in my life, where my husband, the father of our two young daughters at the time, who were nearly 4 years old and nearly 4 months old, he died very suddenly. He was a 35-year-old, fit, healthy, beautiful Argentinian man. And I was 32, and we were just walking through a shopping centre up here on the Sunshine Coast. It was just a day like any other day. We're, about to go into a shop to buy him some shorts, and he fell to the ground and never came back. And even after paramedics arrived and they worked on him back at the hospital, he was declared dead. And now, after looking into his death and autopsy, no cause of death was ever determined. And even years later, it's now, that was back in 2009. So while we're now 14, it'll be 15 years this year. Despite new medical advancements, they still cannot work out his cause of death. So this created a big wound in my soul at that time. And I had two littlies to care for now on my own, who would now grow up with a father, and it really felt unfair. So the thought of, instantly applying gratitude with an event like that felt really inaccessible. We'll go on to talk more about this as we move forward. Mel, I know that we've spoken about this and you've shared a similar event. Would you be happy to share your story?
Yeah, absolutely. So a little earlier than you, Erin, in 1986. So I was 16 at the time, and my very very first boyfriend, my love, really, my beloved, we had just been sexually intimate. It was the morning, and we went out to and what you might know as an after party. So I'm a girl from the bush, and often when your mates have an 18th birthday or a 21st out in the bush, there's always an after party, and it normally means to go back and finish the beer in the keg. That's what an after party means. So we went to the after party that next morning, and there were a few phone calls made, and a couple of his mates were wanting to come, but they didn't have a vehicle, or they'd been drinking, so they asked Michael to go and pick him up. So Michael hadn't been drinking, so we were at the after party, and it was really about an hour after we made love. He jumped in the car and went to pick up his mates. On his way back, the car overturned, and he was thrown 6 meters out the front windscreen of the car. So small town, it didn't take very long for the news to spread, and pretty soon I was asked to go up to the hospital. And somehow, and I don't know how this even happened, but somehow I just found him. I went in the hospital door, I went through the emergency department, and I went straight into the room that he was in. I'm not even sure. I think I just bypassed the doctors and the nurses. And there he was, lying on the table, dead, and very, very beaten up. Lots of tubes coming out of his face, and a lot of blood. And I remember on that day, it's really interesting. I can talk about it now without leaving my body, but I remember on that day actually leaving my body. I remember gravitating up and hovering just around the room, and everything was very, very surreal, as if it wasn't real. So it was kind of like a movie. So I'm down here looking at me, watching him on the table. And apparently my breathing started to change, and I was hyperventilating. I remember the doctor saying, if you keep breathing like that, you're going to be on the table next. So that was my, let's call it my shock experience. I was 16, and yeah, so that's the thing that we recognize we had in common, that we both experienced sudden death and shock to our system.
Yeah. Next slide, Lisa. Mel, would you like to talk to this one?
Yeah. So what I love this term, the wound of separation. I haven't seen it. I think this is my term. I'm not sure, but I've been really interested my whole life in navigating the wound of separation, um, because obviously, given the start that I had in my life and the trauma and the shock of having to witness a sudden death or a sudden loss. Um, I've realized years later that I went into what's called the gap. And I think, just about all of us has a gap of some sort. And what I'm speaking to really is I'm just speaking to the wound of separation, speaking to the time and the place where you just didn't have what it took to process and integrate reality, however that looked. It doesn't have to be a violent or aggressive death, or something. It can be something minimal. It could be a parent that wasn't actually present to you, that was separate and departed in other ways. It could just be neglect. Yeah, the wound of separation. My theory is that all of us have a wound of separation that shows up in some way in the mind, body, spirit, soul pathway. And we're speaking to this for a really good. Leonie's saying it, hers was divorce. We're speaking about this for a reason. We are going somewhere. So just bear with us, and I just wanted to mention the wound of separation and the gap. And just as you're sitting there, some of you already just contemplate if this was in your system, this wound. When was it activated? When did it start? And what was it about? Just in your own gentle contemplations as we're going through this video. See if you can get a little bit of light into your gap.
As mentioned previously with story about Nico, my husband, dying, in the freshness of the wound of the event, to apply gratitude like some kind of positive affirmation, just that was definitely not accessible. And with whatever your experience of separation has been with divorce, neglect, could even be, I know there's some of you on this session tonight who are going through health challenges, and even just the news of that and the early days of dealing with that can be enough to create a separation wound from something, life going one way and then your plans being taken out of your control with something new landing in an event or a circumstance like that, where gratitude kind of isn't going to work if you're going to apply it like a positive affirmation to begin with.
And I want to just quote, this is Erin's quote, which I think it's a ripper, this quote, which you've actually written, Erin, in the book. Wishing for things to be well is an empty gesture without an acceptance of how things actually are.
Yeah. The denial of what's happened, the unjustness of it, the unfairness of it, that's all crying out very loudly in the freshness of these sorts of events. So, someone saying to you, well, what's great about it, or what can you be thankful for about it? Like, for me, it's like, I'm just not ready yet. Like, give me some time. Time will reveal the why, but to not acknowledge what's here, our feelings of anger and all the emotions and the unjustness and the thoughts and the beliefs around it's an empty gesture.
Yeah, you might, and some of you might remember back in the 90s, The Secret, and it was, people were banging on about positive affirmations. It was kind of a hangover from the Louise Hay era, and to be positive and to affirm positiveness. And for me, it was just my skin crawl that whole time, because for me it was some form of a spiritual bypass to be practicing gratitude as a practice of avoiding what we were feeling and avoiding what the truth of what is. So I just really want to get clear about that if you sit there and you're looking for things just to be positive about, well, as you say, Erin, in the book, this is why reeling off a list of things that you are grateful for without first acknowledging how things are falls flat. And so some of us have fallen flat with this practice, the way that we've been doing it. So we want to go into how it could be done.
Yeah. Next slide. Thanks, Lisa. I know I've got 2 teenage daughters, and one of them's really good at debriefing with me about all of her feelings, which is so amazing. Early, in the early days of her great emotional intelligence and communication, I'd try to fix the what she was sharing with me, and I'd try to be pointing her towards being grateful and having an attitude of gratitude about all the circumstances. And she'd be so frustrated with me, like, Mum, you're not listening to me. And I saw there I was trying to do the same thing. I was just trying to band-aid therapy what was going on for her and replace it with something that felt good, instead of leaning into how things actually were for her. So she's one of my great teachers. They all are, aren't they, our children?
Always. Gratitude, the peaceful bridge between the past and the present. The peaceful bridge. What a beautiful quote by Rumi. And just at this juncture, just whoever came in, just pop yourself on mute. That's great. Thanks, Elise. The bridge between the past and the present, and we'll show you how that happens. But there is another teaching on my website called The Master Key, and it goes into the deeper teaching of gratitude as the bridge between the past and the present. So there's a little extra giveaway there if you want to go and check that one out too. It's also free on the website. Next slide, please, Lisa.
So sometimes that bridge hasn't been built yet, though. Even though that is what the gesture that gratitude is offering, it is what is actually going to anchor us back into the present moment. But when we've experienced these difficult and challenging events that bring us suffering, how can we be grateful? How can I be grateful when I'm in grief? That's really what I felt like. When I'm in shock and I'm frozen and I'm in hypoarousal, my whole system, my whole nervous system, my whole brain, all my brains, they're not connecting. They're in a separated state because I'm stuck back on the event, which has happened 10 minutes ago, an hour ago, a week ago, 6 months ago, however long we get stuck in this wound of separation, in this gap for. It's really difficult to access gratitude. Just don't worry, what we're moving towards is a method to build the bridge.
I think a really good word to summarize it may not be grief either. It could be anger.
Yeah.
It could be disbelief. It could be denial. It could be just feeling like a victim, or it could be just feeling that everything's so unfair. Whatever it is, it's the mind reeling and basically disassociated from the soul. And the mind's disassociating from your soul and your heart and your body. So what we're talking to here is grief, but also disassociation. How to navigate back from that place.
Yeah, could even just be a little bit of concern or worry, coming in the form of fear.
And of course, when things are hard and difficult to process and to integrate and to accept, there is also avoidance, which is a strategy. It's not necessarily a bad strategy. It can be a place to hide for a period of time. It can be a place to just attempt to regroup, pause, there's an old saying that the soul will deal with everything in divine timing. So when the soul is ready, the work will be done. But until that time, especially if we're children, avoidance is not a bad place to be. It's a strategy for just getting through each day.
And the body's been really cleverly designed for this. So you know, the way the nervous system reacts to these events, we all share that. You know, if you're a human and you're living on the planet, if you're an animal and you're living on the planet, we've all got this system designed to help us to either fight a potential or real threat, or avoid it and freeze, or flee.
Yep. There's actually a fourth one. We all probably have heard of fight or flight, and then more recently, freeze. There's a fourth one, which is I affectionately call flop, which is a complete dorsal dive. So I had chronic fatigue for 7 years, and I discovered years later that part of my hormonal system that actually takes a dive and renders me a jellyfish. And it's another coping mechanism, believe it or not, for extreme trauma and overwhelm. So you've got fight, flight, and flop.
Yeah, who can relate to that one? I've definitely had flop moments. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mel, back in I forget which year it was in your diary, you did an article on avoidance. We should get a PDF of that and send that out to everyone. It's a really important one,
absolutely,
isn't it?
yeah, and which speaks to this, and it speaks to the dorsal dive as well. So we'll send that article in the post newsletter. Yeah, thanks for reminding me, Erin.
Pleasure. So next slide. Thanks, Lisa. You know, in these moments where we are not present, we are in fear, or you know, worrying about the future or the past. So I'm with the event that I've written about in the gratitude diary. You know, my mind was like a broken record player, replaying the events, replaying all the details that I saw of his death, trying to figure it out, looking back for clues, trying to work out why did this happen, particularly with no answers, apart from just eventually coming to the acknowledgement that he died. And the story that I add on is just, you know, whatever I choose it to be from here. And so between the past and then the future, like, okay, now what? I'm a single parent. Like, this was not in the plan. These girls, they won't have their father growing up. That was not in the plan. And this was very much up in my body, in my head. And I know that you'll relate that when you ping-ponging between the past and the future, you're definitely not down in your legs and grounded. You're up in your body and swinging back and forth between the past and the present. So, you know, we're missing that middle moment. We're missing what's here right now.
Yeah. And that is basically a psychic break, a psychological break. It is a heavily felt in the mind, and the strategy is past ruminations, future ruminations, past ruminations. And so it is a strategy. The problem is that the strategy is actually preventing the healing, going from past to future. And the mind, it's called monkey mind also, where you're on this mental wagon and you can't get off it. It almost becomes an obsession, because what's actually happening is the neural pathways are stuck in the traumatic event and the consequences of that traumatic event and the consequences of that. So you'll run that story and that program around you, synapses around and around and around. And it's like a Ferris wheel that just bloody won't stop. But we're going to stop it. We're going to bring this plane that's going this way.
Yeah.
We're going to turn that plane around now for you guys, because it's time.
How can we stop the swing and land in the now? Because that is exactly where gratitude lives. The frequency of gratitude is here. And from here, we can look back with true gratitude to the past and also true gratitude for the future. But until we've actually landed here now, it's really hard to access gratitude. That's why the whole positive affirmation strategy doesn't work. We haven't landed here first. This is the solution.
And I just love and if you want to do this just as an anchoring exercise for your body, I love this practice. I love the prayer practice, because think about your past and everything that's gone down, everything. And then think about your future, which is everything that's still yet to come. And sometimes what we think is going to happen, but truth is we don't actually know what exists here. Look to the past, honor the past. Look to the future and accept and give thanks for the future. Bring the two together and really, really just look at your fingertips. Just look. Take a breath. That's true prayer. Right? Bringing the past and the future to the present moment. Prayer is presence. Prayer as presence. Just look to your fingers. If you can accept the lines in your fingers, knowing where you've come from, the consequences of where you've come from, but be true to the lines in your fingers. It's just a little practice that you can do any time of the day. That's true prayer. Gratitude. It's right here, right now. Up close, intimate. And then breath comes just naturally. And maybe you've noticed that for the first time. Just comes. Okay. Next slide, please, Lisa.
This is where gratitude really is the key to life as it's unfolding right now. But it's through, the dissolving of first the honoring, accepting, and then the dissolving of the past and the future that drops us into this golden ball of the now. But gratitude and acceptance are on the same frequency. So it's really the key of gratitude that unlocks the present moment for us.
And I think the thing that we loved, we chatted about today too, that gratitude is natural. It's your natural state. So you don't have to try to be grateful, and you don't have to look out for things to be grateful. Gratitude occurs naturally in your soul, but it lives in the present moment. So if your practice is presence, and then you notice your breath, you give thanks to that. And if your practice is presence and you notice a flower, then you give thanks for that. Do you see the difference? Yeah.
And it's not even that you have to give verbally say thank you, or it's through the presence with it that you're already saying thank you with your presence. This is really where I feel gratitude is such a devotional practice to the present moment, to honor the present moment.
You've written there, and gratitude is not about giving thanks for what is going well. It's a deep acceptance and honoring of what is here in this present moment. You cannot force acceptance. It unfolds through releasing any resistance to what is. And as a result, awareness broadens. Mm-hmm. So there is an acceptance piece in here.
Yeah, there is. So next slide. Thanks, Lisa. In my journey with that experience of Nico, my husband, dying, it wasn't until some weeks later when I started seeing a mindfulness therapist. And it was just, thank you, universe, for lining that up for me, because I had gone to see my GP because I was still trying to breastfeed, and the stress response was meaning that my milk wasn't coming through as well. And I really wanted to work on that. And the GP said, look, it might pay for you to talk to someone about what's happened. And I was like, oh, okay, as maybe just for the girls, like to make sure that the girls are going to be all right. And she was like, yeah, okay. And the recommendation that she gave me ended up being a mindfulness practitioner. She was a psychologist as well, but she specialized in mindfulness. And I hadn't even asked for that by then. I'd been practicing some yoga before that point, but not mindfulness specifically. And it was in that very first session of her, sitting me down, we had a talk, and then she asked if I'd be open to being guided through a body scan meditation just for 10 minutes, just noticing from my feet up in my body sensations that were unfolding. And it wasn't until she started guiding me through that my mind dissolved the worrying, the future planning, the looking back, and it dropped straight into my feet. And my mind was now connected to my feet, something that was actually here in the present moment. And I just felt this really big release. It was a release that didn't feel great. I mean, I was crying. It felt very uncomfortable. I felt like the emotions of grief and fear were heightened. But I felt for the first time something within me that said this has happened. This is what's happened. And the first time that I really landed in a space where I could acknowledge it. And it was just through someone asking for me to pay attention to my feet and me doing that.
And as you're telling that story, Erin, I just want to reflect back to you that you still needed to make a decision, to go to your body. In other words, you were invited to go, but you could have, with your mind, decided to have not went there, but you made the choice to trust who you were working with. And so with the choice, with the power of the mind, you accessed your body and therefore your soul. And just wanted to acknowledge to everybody that it is a choice. We can regulate, we can come back. We do have free will and we do have a choice to come in, but we can also choose not to. We can also choose to stay in the gap or in the void, or just to stay disassociated. So just well done, and wanted to acknowledge your courage for making that choice.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Thank you for bringing it up, because that definitely needs to be honored as well. Timing will be different for everybody. That timing of that choice feeling safe enough. I work with a lot of people in yoga who, have experienced the wound of separation, and it has had to do with their physical body, that event where the wound of separations happened. And it can be a really big ask being invited to focus on the body again. So just thank you, wanting to honor that. A little exercise for everybody now, just to experience this. So do this with me. Hold out your hands in front of you with the palms facing up, and then curl your fingers in toward your palms and squeeze your fists, and start to squeeze them as tight as you can now. Let this just be a metaphor for, the resistance that we feel, the tension, the upsetness, the tightness that we know some of these events and circumstances in life make us feel like. And take a breath in and just clench your whole body now. Even clench your glutes, clench your sphincter, really clenching on down there in your wrists as well. And just notice how your body feels holding on. All right. We're all familiar with this side of us. And now, I hope you haven't been holding that in breath, or if you have, it's been a good exercise. Now you can slowly release that inhale turn it into an exhale, and at the same time, really slowly releasing your fingers and your glutes and any other muscle that you've been holding onto in your body. And just physically feel that in an embodied way, what that release feels like, that surrendering into what's here right now without trying to resist it. So do that one more time. Curl your hands up, engage your glutes, clench your core, clench all the muscles onto the body that you can, clench your sphincter. That's an important one. It's a funny one, but it's an important one. Shrug your shoulders even, like you're really upset about something, and then just releasing everything really slowly, and feel this side of you, that part of you that, you know, the body's natural wisdom that knows how to surrender. Sometimes it has to be the flop. Sometimes it has to be that we fall to our knees. Sometimes it has to be, you know, a fatigue issue that just helps us to release. The body is very, very wise at showing us how to drop things we've been holding on to.
What's really interesting, Erin, and it happened again now, but when we were practicing this afternoon, when I started clenching my sphincter, I immediately started burping, and all of the energy that was in my tummy was coming up. And we just, you know, realized, you know, the phrase, you know, uptight, upset. Energy wants to move down and through us. Yeah, everything, food, digestion, elimination, it comes this way. It's this process here. And yet if we hang on, clench, oh, guess what? It either moves the other way or it's stuck and creates stagnation, and that can affect you so many ways: constipation, toxicity, lethargy. Yeah, so the energy wants to flow. So if you think you might be uptight or upset, just exaggerate the feeling and really go into it and let yourself feel the anxiety, and then consciously release it. And then don't be uptight.
Yeah. So you're forced to release up and out. Yeah, however it comes out is good. But preferably in alignment with the natural law of the body, that
Exactly.
downward motion. So next slide. Thanks, Lisa.
Exactly.
Because the body seeks balance always. You know, that's why the burp comes out. That's why, you know, the reflux. That's why if we're out of balance, the body's going to naturally try to get back to equilibrium, just like the law of nature. You look at a beach and the way that the waves hit the sand and then the dune forms. To keep that system in balance, depending on the velocity of the waves, will depend on the height of the dunes. And if there's interruption in that system, it's going to shift and change to try to get back to equilibrium, or the flow of the tides to be aligned with the way of the moon. I mean, there's nothing we can do. It's a great intelligence. There's nothing we can do to interrupt that. And the body is the same. It's always trying, you know, it's your friend, and it's trying to seek balance.
Beautiful. I love that truth.
So gratitude, it grows naturally in the absence of resistance. You know, that feeling when your fists are clenched, your sphincters clenched, your shoulders are tight, you're uptight, you're literally upset in your body. And it's really hard for gratitude to seep in those moments, because there's such a wall there. And it's not even about getting rid of the wall or getting rid of the anger or the fear. It's actually about bringing your presence onto that. Just like when we had our fists clenched, we were present with it, right? So we weren't captured or hijacked away with this tension. We were aware it was there. And then what happens next? Well, we're going to take a breath out. We've got to release. And this is where presence and gratitude naturally grow, when this is where resistance will naturally release. It's not a forced thing. Just through the release of resistance, by becoming aware of it, gratitude can now enter.
I think that's just such a huge secret to realize that it was never something that you ever did with your egoic self. it's something that's already built into your DNA. The gratitude, it's a secret, the key that exists naturally already. It's just that everything that we do to stop that around it, which makes us feel like we're not divine beings, but we have this quality inside us. It's inherent, it's inbuilt, and if you're breathing and you're present, you'll notice it.
So I'm wondering about you sitting here listening to it, everybody, and what's coming up for you around where in your life you are in resistance. And this can present in so many different ways, can't it? It could just be that you're still at war with your body after all these years. There's still a resistance about the way your body is right now, or a health issue that's here, or a relationship that's here, or here.
And aging,
yep, grey hair, a wrinkle, a thought. You could be in resistance of just a thought in your own mind.
Yep.
A belief,
a judgment,
yeah, something someone said. Or an event that's unfolded in the past, and here we are in the now, and the resistance still here. So again, this is why we want to start befriending resistance and getting to know it, and getting to know where we are resisting, because with that process it'll naturally start to dissolve. We're not band-aiding it. We're not replacing it with a positive affirmation. We're going, hey, resistance, I see you. Come, let's have a cup of tea. Come, let's be friends. And the byproduct of that is that it'll naturally dissolve. And now the seeds of gratitude can come in and blossom.
And sometimes something I often say is, and so it is. I'll see something that I would previously judged, or would want to deny that it existed, or to not believe that that could even be true, and I find myself going, and so it is. And it's the fast way of just dissolving resistance. This is happening, that happened. Praying my car, and so it is.
Yeah. Next slide. Thanks, Lisa.
And what a slide it is. More artwork by the beautiful Melissa Williams. I often speak about mind, body, spirit, and soul, and what's the difference. And as you were speaking, Erin, earlier about first making that choice to do your unpacking work, and then entering into your body, and of course once you enter body, emotions reside in your soul, which now you can access those emotions because you've decided to come back into your body. So now that you can access your emotions, your soul starts to heal and the spirit is set free. And ironically, after that whole journey, you are now practicing embodiment, practicing holding the space for other people to come into their bodies and to heal their soul. So what a beautiful journey. And our next presentation is going to be exactly this: mind, body, spirit, and soul, and what is the difference.
I'll look forward to that one, Mel. You're doing that in a couple of weeks.
That's coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, great. And that's true. Like my portal, if you like, through to the acceptance of Nico's death was, it began with the body. Sometimes though it can come through, through the mind first. It can be realizing a thought pattern and releasing that can then, relax the shoulders, like, breath out. I can totally shift your energy, just shifting a thought. But, we've got these ways to come at it from mind, body. In yoga, we, use our energy, like breath work, as well as a portal to come in. But also so that we can be a little lighter and live whole spirited, wholehearted again. You know, the wind of separation, it's like it creates this gap in the spirit of us. Like we carry around this gap, and releasing the resistance to what it was that created that wound of separation helps the spirit to become whole again. You know, invites us to align and reconnect with the soul of us again. Looking forward to that workshop, Mel.
Yay.
Next slide. Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, so just reiterating, it's really in the present moment that gratitude grows naturally. So these methods for accessing the spacious field of present moment awareness, you know, this could just be as simple as noticing the sensations unfolding in your feet, noticing how your wrists feel, noticing as you're doing the dishes or stacking the dishwasher, what's happening right now. And they're little windows that start to open our present moment awareness, the spacious conscious field of present moment awareness, and add those up, and we start to get more windows of presence in our hour, in our day, and in our whole life. We just start to release resistance.
We get our life back.
We get our life back. Yeah, because we can now see it clearly again.
We're in it. We're in it.
We're in
Mind,
it.
body, spirit, and soul. We're back. We're back on the timeline of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I used to sit at the playground feeling resentful about all the dads playing with their children, you know, and then when my present moment awareness expanded, now I could just see my kids playing at the playground with all the other children, with, you know, the resentment dissolved. It was really powerful, really simple, but really powerful.
Yeah, and just to close off my story, you know, do I give gratitude for the fact that my boyfriend was killed in a car accident? Well, no, I don't give thanks for that. But I do give thanks to the person that I became as a result of that incident, because that moment led to the next moment, and it led to a lifetime, if you like, of inquiry of, well, what happens when somebody leaves their physical body? You know, what happens next? You know, what happens in the spirit realm? Where did he go? And a whole bunch of questions that a 16-year-old probably, you know, shouldn't be asking at that stage. But it brought me to here. It brought me to deep inquiry. You know, it popped me out of the matrix at a really early age, and you know, and so I'm really grateful for what that brought me. And I connect to Michael now whenever I need to, whenever I want, and I know how to do that. And there's no problem on his side. Everything's good where he is, and everything's as it should be. It was only my thinking that was the problem, that shouldn't have happened. But in truth, in spirit realm, and probably Nico as well, they're at peace with their life's journey and their soul's journey also. And so, of course, we should be at peace with our own.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the greatest lessons that I've come to understand with gratitude is the teaching of impermanence, that things are always changing, including, and that death is a reality. And it's something that we spend so much of our life avoiding talking about. It's really uncomfortable for a lot of people. It's the very thing that we can count on. And I've become a Buddhist student actually because of the death teachings, because it's really opened my fascination to it. And the more that I study death, the more that I love life, and can feel really grateful, and can feel so grateful that, you know, that event led me to learn about mindfulness, and I now teach other people how to teach mindfulness. I never would have imagined that back then, but it's a book that's on embodiment, just without having had that experience. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, or having the understanding of the depths of life. And I know I've got a lot more to learn, but that I do now. And for that, I am in extreme gratitude for Nico and for the event. And this, it won't take away the momentary sadness that comes and goes, and the uncomfortableness sometimes of the memories of the event. But once I came out of the resistance and the unfairness of it and started realizing how it had changed my life and the lives of everybody in his life, now gratitude's abundant.
And that wound of separation that we were talking about, I need to do a reframe on that now and call it the illusion of separation, because that is exactly what it is. It's an illusion. It's a temporary state. It definitely feels real and appears real, but in truth, it was a state. And with a state change, that whole field of perceived separation can be collapsed in presence. You can collapse that illusion of separation into presence. And we'll be working more with that during the year of collapsing the illusions.
Shall we do a devotional practice now? Because when we make gratitude a devotional practice, we honor life, all of it, no matter what it contains, pleasant, unpleasant, just through this process of offering our full presence to what's here. I'd like to now guide you through, just for a few minutes again, a present moment meditation, just with the intention to reveal how gratitude can naturally exist here. And this is what makes it a devotional practice. So just once again, make sure that you're comfortable in your seat or laying down. For those of you that are on evening time, it can be a little risky laying down. So this isn't a meditation to fall asleep, but just make sure you're comfortable where you're at. Just take those 3 breaths again, like we did in the meditation at the beginning of our time together. Just breathing in your own time, inhaling and exhaling. And begin to feel the sensations in your physical body that are unfolding in response to the breath. So you might become aware of your belly expanding and retreating. Or maybe you're feeling the breath higher up in your chest. It doesn't matter, just somewhere in your front body. Just noticing the physical sensations unfolding. And if at any time this becomes too uncomfortable for you, noticing the physical sensations of the body, you can just place your hands on your knees or your belly. Just place your hands on the body and just use that sense of touch, or connect to something like a chair or a table in front of you. And just becoming present with the unfoldings of this present moment right now, your breath in and out, and the felt sensations of it in your physical body. If your eyes aren't closed, you might wish to close them just to really tune in, not to escape anything, just to be here more so. Just notice the pulse of the body, like the ebb and flow of the tides in response to that inhale and exhale. Now imagine that you're breathing in and out of the body as a whole, as though with every inhalation, you can just feel your whole body, the whole of the skin that envelops the body expanding a little, growing. And then as you exhale, just feel that retreating, that surrendering, that letting go. Just offering your full presence to what's here, the fullness of the breath in and the fullness of the breath out of your body. And just place one hand on your belly now and one hand over your heart space. Take another full breath in and out. Bring those palms together. You can have your hands separated at first and then slowly bring the palms to touch and just notice that point of connection. Really devote your attention to that moment, that sense of touch unfolding, offering your full presence to what's here. Just bow the forehead to the fingertips. And an invitation. Allow yourself to meet with what exists in this present moment. And deeply accept how things are right now. It does not mean that they will be like this forever. Loosen your grip on life and open to the whisper of gratitude. I acknowledge you, I honor you, and I devote my presence to your existence. So when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes, and Melanie, handing over to Melanie.
Thank you, Erin. Really beautifully done. You're such a master.
Such a student.
Such a student. We're going to open up to Q&A next. But before we do, I have an invitation for you. What is it? Next slide, please, Lisa. Aha, more gratitude. The gift of gratitude is coming your way. Next slide, please, Lisa. Archaeology of the Soul, starting next new moon, where we journey through the teachings in the gratitude diary. It's 13 moon process, although there's only 12 moons this year. There's normally 13. We have 12 new moons this year. It's a focus group. It's a focus soul group, and you get to hang out more with myself and the teachings. We do some one-on-one work together. Essentially, it's a community. What we're creating now is a community of like-minded people who are really just getting into their own soul's work. It's time, it's time to unpack. We don't need to be carrying around traumas of the past, illusions of the future. It's a healing group, but it's also a healing group, but a networking group, because what tends to happen is as we all come into the frequency of healing and gratitude and alignment, somehow we transform inside of that community, and it activates higher potential. So things have happened in archaeology of the soul, like business alignments have taken place. People have ended their jobs and gone off and started new businesses based on the support and encouragement that they've got from other people in the groups. Group members have often gone off. Some group members have gone and written their own books, some work that they've been sitting on for years and years, and just the soul wasn't in the right environment in order to start expressing their higher truths. So it is a powerful I hate the word networking group. It's so 3D. It's a powerful community of like-minded souls who are on a healing and teaching journey. That's archaeology of the soul. Next slide, please, Lisa. And we meet once a month. We work one-on-one. You get your gratitude diary if you haven't already got one, or you get another one to give to a friend. You have the lifetime access to all of the teaching materials. So basically this is the 3rd year now. So you get access to all of the previous year's teachings. Just get a little passcode and you log in and you can go through all of the teachings. We have guest facilitators. Erin was our beautiful guest facilitator tonight. The lady with the feathers is Sarah McLeod. She's a real live walking, talking shaman woman. Shaman woman, is that the word? Who lives here in the Northern Rivers. Chris Franken, who's an author and a psychic, and also a spiritual counselor. I have these girls come in, and probably another guest speaker this year. I'm not exactly sure who that is, but you know, they'll pop up at the time. And we've got payment plans available for people who want to pay it off over the year. So it's all doable. If your soul's drawn, just reach out and connect, and don't let money be a thing. You know, don't let it block. Just follow your soul, because it always leads you home. Next slide, please, Lisa. You get all of that starting on the 11th of January. Oh, that's right, the special. So buy one, get one half price. So that price there is for 2 people. That is a little bit confusing. So for 2 people, you can come pretty much for normally it's $1,300 for one. So buy one, get one half price. So you can go halves in a ticket with your friend and get I think it works out to be about a $600 discount. So click on the link if you're interested, or just email me. Payment plan, so you go $277 a month is another option. Next slide, please, Lisa. And also let's just talk about what Erin does. So Erin's got the Mindful Yoga School up on the Sunshine Coast, and she does teacher trainings for yoga. What else do you do, Erin?
Yeah, if anyone wants to come on the yoga or meditation mindfulness journey with me, and you can sometimes get to the Sunshine Coast, rest of the time do it online with me. That's what I offer through the Mindful Yoga School. Do retreats in Byron Bay, and with Melanie's support, I've written the little book of big intentions, which guides you on how to embody intentions like acceptance, gratitude, and presence through yoga postures. That's me.
Beautiful. Awesome. All righty, there's our links, there's our contacts. Now we enter into the fun part. We got through our teachings. I want to hear from you guys. I would love to hear any questions that anybody has. If you have any questions, comments, or observations, there is no such thing as a silly question. If you have, I can guarantee if you have it, everybody else will have it as well. So feel free to just have a chat. If there's something that you're not clear about, if there's something that didn't make sense to you at all, just field it, and you can direct your question to either myself or Erin, or to both of us if you like, and whoever gets the answer will come through. So if you feel like having a little chat or a comment, just raise your hand and I'll unmute you, and